From the rumbling of the engines to the roaring of the fans, there's nothing quite like the sound of a NASCAR race. Since the late 1940s, NASCAR has grown to be the main governing body for stock car racing. It's one of America's greatest known pastimes and is currently second to the NFL in terms of television ratings in the U.S. Just a quick background on my personal love for NASCAR. It runs pretty deep. I barely miss a race, even with working full-time and going to school part-time, and when I do miss one, I'm getting updates on the app or from Twitter. Jimmie Johnson is my driver, but I'll try not to talk about him too much. So, although NASCAR is a hot topic, and not just for me, but countrywide, many sports fans still criticize it for not being a true sport, and that the drivers aren't true athletes. However, these so-called sports fans are bound to find themselves in some serious confrontations should they talk to a fan like myself. First, let's define sport. According to Merriam-Webster, a sport is a contest or game in which people do certain physical activities according to a specific set of rules and compete against each other. So what I'm hearing is, in order to be considered a sport, NASCAR needs to be physical, have rules, and must be competitive. So let's talk about the physical aspect first. According to Men's Fitness magazine, physical fitness has become a make-or-break factor in NASCAR. That before, it was typical for the car to break down before the driver's fitness level, but now the cars are so superior that the weak link is the driver and his or her lack of physical ability. The reality is, these drivers must be in impeccable shape to withstand the force of the vehicle and the heat of the engine. They have to wrestle with a 3,400-pound stock car. If they're unable to withstand these physical requirements, they could lose control of the car and crash. Therefore, it's foolish to say that these drivers aren't athletes and that no physical ability is required. I also want to point out that it's not just the fans who consider the drivers athletes. In 2009, the Associated Press named Jimmie Johnson Male Athlete of the Year. The same year, Forbes named him Most Influential Athlete of the Year. Athletes Quarterly, shown here, has featured many NASCAR drivers on its cover, such as Kevin Harvick. The list goes on and on. The drivers' pit crews also train just as hard as any other athletes in any other sport. They must have the physical abilities to jack up half of the 3,400-pound car, change 4 tires, add 22 gallons of fuel to the fuel tank, and make no mistakes while doing all of this over the span of 15 seconds. Some people think that NASCAR is all about the driver and the car, and that there's no real team aspect involved like there is with other sports, but this is actually far from the truth. NASCAR pit crews are sometimes called the unsung heroes of the sport because they work to keep the car and the driver going, but they often get very little credit. The pit crew consists of the jackman. This person raises the car so the tires can be changed. The front and rear tire changers, the gas man, the catch can man. This person catches fuel overflow, and the front and rear tire carriers, all working together with the driver to ensure that they put the best version of their car out on the track. Like other sports, in NASCAR there's also a game plan and a strategy, and it's not just drive fast and pass people. Knowing the right time to be aggressive is crucial. Bumping is one way to do that. When a driver bumps the rear bumper of the car in front, the lead car will often move up the track, giving the second car enough room to pass. Another strategy is having the driver rely on a spotter. This is a team member who watches the race from the press box and helps spot vulnerabilities and opportunities. The spotter is in constant contact with the driver through a microphone inside the helmet, communicating information about any wrecks, track conditions, and the positions of other cars. There are also rules and regulations for each race. Violations of these rules can result in penalties. Examples of violations, just to name a few, would be pitting before pit road is open or pitting out of order, speeding while entering or exiting pit road, crew members over the wall too soon, and intentionally causing a caution. NASCAR is also highly competitive. It runs 3 racing series, the Sprint Cup Series, the Nationwide Series, and the Camping World Truck Series, which is for racing trucks only. There are 36 races in the Sprint Cup Series schedule alone, 26 in the regular season, and 10 in the postseason. Just like other sports, NASCAR drivers and their pit crews compete to win championships. 2 examples: Richard Petty, known as the king of stock car racing, has the most career wins of any racer, 200. Jimmie Johnson is the only NASCAR Cup Series winner to win 5 consecutive championships. NASCAR also has an extremely large following, with approximately 75 million fans worldwide. NASCAR is the number 2 sport on television in the U.S., second only to the NFL, and is broadcast in over 100 countries in 21 languages, making it one of the most accessible sports in the world. NASCAR fans also love to spend their hard-earned money on merchandise and event attendance. With over $2 billion in licensed product sales annually and approximately $350 million in ticket sales annually, NASCAR is without a doubt a consistent performer among all major sports. And another thing to note about us NASCAR fans is that we're really good sports and we can definitely take a joke. But if you're going to tease us about our love for NASCAR racing, then at least come up with some new material other than the left turn joke. I mean, really, who hasn't heard that one at least a couple hundred times? So to summarize what you've learned from my presentation, we now know that NASCAR is physical. Each race has a set of rules and regulations that drivers and their teams must follow. It's highly competitive and it has a massive fan base. Well, class, I think it's fair to say that we've got a sport on our hands. If you'd like to learn more about NASCAR or you would just like to check some of my facts, I've included the links to my references on this final slide. I can also send them via email upon request. Thank you very much for watching my Pecha Kucha presentation on why NASCAR is indeed a sport.